Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to the NFRC ballot review webinar, and thank you for attending. I'm Scott Hanlon. I'm the Director of Program Operations here at NFRC, and with me today are our staff, our subcommittee staff liaisons who handle the ballots for the fall meeting, and then Robin Merrifield, who is handling the webinar screen for us. I'd like to make sure everybody's on the same page with the scope for this webinar. We're here to answer questions and provide clarifications about any of the ballots. You know, perhaps there may be confusion with the intent of the ballot or the potential outcome. And we just want to make sure you have a full understanding of the ballot, which will assist you with submitting a response. But I also want to make sure you understand that we're not here to debate the ballot or the proposed language. We can handle that during the meeting. For example, say the ballot language states a requirement that you disagree with. We're not here to debate that and possibly change the language. So please just submit a negative as normal, and we'll discuss it again at that meeting. Now here's the logistics of how we're going to handle the conversation. We're going to provide you a short summary of the ballot and the intent of it, and maybe the potential outcome of that ballot as well. And then after we summarize, we'll be happy to entertain any questions. So just please use the hand raise feature that we're so used to using for webinars and our meetings. And I'll call on you and then I'll unmute you. So before I begin, I'd like you to turn your attention over to, for a moment, to Michelle Blackston, our NFR Senior Director, Development and Engagement, for a few words about sponsorship.
Thanks, Scott. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our current sponsors this year for supporting the Efficient Windows Collaborative. They are Quanix, Vitro, Thermoplast, and Veritas. Thank you. Without their support, we would not be able to do the great things that we're doing with the upgrades to the Efficient Windows Collaborative. So I'm Michelle Blackston, as Scott said, and as you know, we're gearing up for our fall membership meeting in October in San Diego. We already have quite a few folks who have registered to attend. And if you haven't registered, you should do so today and make sure you reserve your room as the room block is filling up fast. San Diego is a hot destination that you don't want to miss. And with that in mind, the fall meeting is a great opportunity for your company to become a meeting sponsor. So why should you become a fall membership meeting sponsor? The benefits include your company logo and brand in front of NFRC meeting attendees. Your company will also be promoted on NFRC's and the Efficient Windows Collaborative's social media accounts, including Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, with more than 9,000 followers collectively. Your company also will be featured on all meeting materials online and on site at the hotel. As you'll hear in this webinar on the ballots, important business gets taken care of at NFRC meetings. And sponsorship is a great opportunity to support the goal of improving the NFRC ratings. If you're interested, please reach out to me at mblackston@nfrc.org. And now I'll pass it back over to Scott.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it. Now we're going to move on to discussing the ballots, and we're going to start with the ballots from the BBG task group. Our chair of that task group is Jim Alderdice. And the first ones will be about the ANSI NFRC 100 and 200, and then we'll move on to the 700 after that. So the BBG ballots are a continuation of the task group's work to add slats, angles of negative and positive 45 degrees of slatted blinds, and to update and align the NFRC and LB&L websites, and to update the simulation manual for shading systems that can be simulated, and then also better define the process to simulate and create shading layers for blind systems. So the fall 2022 here technical ballots are to allow for the ability to use a default standardized slat and introduce a second method to group the shading products, and also a definition for shading system. That's something we saw that was missing in our language. Now, if these ballots are approved, our language will be held in abeyance until such time with the implementation of Windows and Therm 7.8, which should be shortly. when the CPD is updated to hold any of the data for the ratings, any related ballots regarding our table 4-3 through the 100, and when those are approved and implemented. We also will have to look at our program documents and manuals and get them approved, and if necessary, maybe there may be some simulator training. So with that, I'd love to entertain if anybody has any questions. Please raise your hand. We'll unmute you. I will also unmute Jim Outerdice to handle any questions. So this is regarding the blind between the glass ballots for 100 and 200. Any questions, please raise your hand. And I'm not seeing anything. All right, good job, Jim. You did a great job at the ballot. All right, let's move on to the 700. So the 700, that's a continuation of conversation from the spring ballots, and we had some clarification we had to add based on those ballots from the spring. Was about the dynamic nature, and we highlighted that and provided some a note within that language. So does anybody have any questions regarding the 700 BBG ballot? I'm not seeing any hands raised. Nope. Okay. So we'll turn it over to Mike Toman. He is our liaison handling these 5-100 ballots. So Michael, the floor is yours.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone today. And as Scott said, I'm the liaison for the U-Factor subcommittee. So we have 5 ballots for directly for NFRC 100, all of which stemmed from the table 4-3 ballot, 2 ballots that we've tried at the last 2 meetings. So we've separated that effort into 5 separate ballots so that we can chip away at the different topics that really were raised by those. And we'll start out with the glazed wall system definitions ballot. This ballot intends to improve, consolidate, and clarify the use of terms for commercial glazed wall systems. So those terms are, window wall systems, curtain wall. We do use the term glazed wall, sloped glazing, those types of terms. We weren't super consistent with those throughout the document, and we wanted to clean those up. Also, updating those products in table 4.3, and then relocating the table 4.3 footnotes that pertain to those products. One of the efforts that you'll see throughout these ballots is that we're aiming to end with no footnotes on table 4.3, since the footnotes all are really technical language that is required and should be elsewhere in the document. So we're moving that language out to other locations. One of the fallouts from this, as you see in red there, the term storefront will actually not be used in the document anymore, and it would be removed from the 600 document, plus all the other definitions as we've touched them in any of these ballots would be updated in the NFRC 600 document, our glossary and terms document, which just follows along with any other ballots we do. So are there any questions concerning this ballot?
Seeing none.
Not seeing any hands. Nope.
All right.
Good job, Michael.
Yeah, that one should be an easy one. The glazed wall systems ratings ballot, and both this ballot and the previous one came out of our glazed wall systems task group. This ballot specifically addresses the correct ratings to be applied to commercial glazed wall systems. The language as written is a little nebulous on how exactly to rate a system that could be applied in different manners, such as like the curtain wall system that you might use as a storefront. This language, this ballot creates some language that would handle consolidating and creating a single rating based on the design of the system rather than on the way that it's applied in a building. And this will help us to clarify, for users what rating they should do for that type of product. If approved, this ballot language would be implemented upon approval via the ANSI process as part of the 2023 NFRC 100 approval.
No hands.
All right. So the operable, non-operable language comes from our Table 4.3 task group, which was tasked with I'm going to say the easier items that came out of negatives from the previous ballots. Operable, non-operable language was something that we stumbled upon as we went through reviewing the document, that we were very inconsistent with that language. So sometimes we said opening, sometimes we said operable. Same with non-opening, non-operable, fixed. We used a variety of terms to all describe the same thing. So as a task group, we settled that operable and non-operable were the correct terms for describing when you had a Sasher panel that worked or didn't work. And we went through the document and found the different places where we needed to fix that. So this ballot is a pretty much a completely editorial ballot. Not really any, I'm going to say any strong debate required there. It's just a cleanup of the editorialness. And same approval here. This would be implemented with the 2023 following the ANSI process.
Well done again, Michael.
All right, move on to the next one. The sidelight ballot, this is handled by our sidelight task group. And this is a pretty substantial change. We got a lot of comments on previous ballots about the sidelights. We weren't changing anything at that point in time, but the different questions and comments came out of those. So in response to that, this ballot is proposing that the sidelight size be modified to match the existing side hinged entry door size of 38 by 82. And what that effectively does is removes the need to rate the sidelight as basically potentially 3 different sizes. In the past, if you had a sidelight and it was, I'm going to say, a normal sidelight, and its width did not exceed 27 inches, I believe, it was rated as a sidelight at a size of 600 millimeters by 2090 millimeters. If it was actually shipped as a larger size than the 27 inches, then it depended on what kind of sidelight it was. It could either be rated as a fixed window size at 1200 by 1500 millimeters or as the side hinged entry door size. So you had the potential of the same product getting labeled ratings at 3 different sizes, depending on how large it was, the actual shipped unit was, and what kind of unit it was. So obviously that was a very odd situation in the way we rate. It has been that way forever, but this change would clean that up and create that it would always be rated at the door size. And that also consolidates a lot of what can be done with door and sidelight ratings when they're the same, the same series model. So this, if implemented, would also be approved with the 2023 100 via the ANSI process. So do we have any questions or concerns with this one?
We're getting the continuous theme of no hand raise. I will make sure the hand raise feature works. No, let's get
I hope this is the way the negatives come in too. So
yes.
that's what we want. So the final ballot in this series of 5 is the table 4.3 ballot itself. This is a ballot which removes a handful of operator types that we have not used in all the years we've been at NFRC. And it also handles one of the footnotes is, as I had described, the sidelight situation where if a sidelight was larger than 27 inches wide, transoms had a similar size limit that said if they were more than 27 inches high, they would be rated as a fixed window size. And that was in a footnote. So that footnote, the transom size limit footnote, is removed via this ballot. And then the table's reformatted with editorial changes not intended to get rid of the existing rules. As a package, these 5 ballots will all result in a new table 4.3 that's a revamped design and the elimination of all the footnotes if we get approval on all of these. The end result is that we would intend that the new table would have no footnotes. All that language would be offloaded or moved into the body of the document somewhere else. But if we do not get approval on all the parts at the same time, what we'll get is kind of a partial of that where the table would be revised, but maybe not all footnotes would be changed, or in the event like the sidelight size change doesn't go through, well, the sidelight size change would remain the way it is, or the sidelight size would remain the way it is with the same current footnote that is there. So that's how all this will work. This ballot is pretty editorial in nature as well, and would also be implemented upon approval of the 100/2023 via the ANSI process.
You haven't stumped anybody, Michael. Good
All right.
ballot.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If anything does come up over time, please feel free to reach out to you as you're looking at these ballots. If you want to talk through something, we definitely want to hear that conversation before you vote negative. It's much easier to talk through and help you understand completely what our intent is before you vote negative. That doesn't preclude you from voting negative. It just allows us to get the full picture of what's going on and answering questions or confusion. So thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to the 102. So thank you, Michael. And I believe Dennis has the next few.
Thank you, Scott. I am Dennis Anderson. I am the liaison of, well, not really the U-Factor subcommittee, that's Mike, but I am pretty much the reviewer and supplier of data for all the labs per NFRC 102. And so that's why I'm talking about the 102, but 102 does fall under the same U-Factor that Mike Tolman is liaison of. This ballot is actually really pretty simple. It's just had to clean up some language to make it align with the ASTM C1199 document, because only reason 102 exists because there are some items within ASTM that we either is missing from the ASTM, or we do not like, or we want to add or implement, or kind of enhance it. So that's what the NFRC 102 document really is. It's just a extension of the ASTM C1199. So ASTM went under some ballot reviews last year. They got implemented this year with a new publication. So our NFRC 102 document now is aligning with the latest changes to the ASTM document. And we did remove all references to what year of the ASTM C1199 to make it so we don't have to always update the 102 if ASTM wanted to make document changes more than every 3 or 4 or 5 years. So that we also got rid of reference here. So that's a pretty simple document or ballot.
All right. I am not seeing any, D.
All right, thank you. The 201 now is much bigger change. The 201, those that aren't aware, that is our procedure for using or testing products, and either use the sun or you can use a solar simulator. We have had language in the 201 that you could use artificial light to do your testing to get the solar heat gain coefficient, but there were no laboratories that were doing that. And we have one that is accredited, has been accredited for several years using the real sun, and that calorimeter actually tracks the sun to get the number. The 201 now has been updated to have some tight controls on if you are going to use solar simulators or artificial light to do the solar heat gain testing. This test method, if it does get approved, doesn't mean that the labs can now all of a sudden pop up and start testing this way. They do so have to go through the NFRC accreditation laboratory process and get approved to use that. But at least there's now a really good guideline that follows pretty much what the Europeans use for solar simulators. And that's about it. There is a link in there for a study that was done 20 years ago. I mean, that's using the exact same technology, so it's proven that solar simulators do work.
No hands. We can
Okay.
move on.
All right. And then the 400. That one that's basically just going under some changes that we had some pretty good debates, or not debates, but some good discussion on updating the NFRC 400 to more align with the NAFs, and that's, those that aren't aware, it's the North American Fenestration Standard. The latest one is -17 or 2017. It's actually going to be having a newer one. I'm not sure if it'll be 2022 or 2023. But the 400 is trying to address the fact that they're not going to be using the term gateway size anymore. And you'll see that the term gateway size has been struck from the 400. And don't let that alarm you. It's because the North American Fenestration Standard is removing that, and so we're just going to follow with them, and we still have to require a test size. So the test size is clarified, knowing that the term gateway size that the FGIA uses, that the Canadians use in their CSA document, as well as the other organization, the WDMA, they all have that one document called NAFs, and so we just want to align ourselves with that.
Yeah, no hands. We're looking good.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Yeah, great job. All right, we're going to move into our thermophysical property document, also known as the NFRC 101. And Mike Toman is going to handle this for us.
All right, so we have several ballots here. Also, these all stem from previous balloting work that did not complete. So we have the density ballot, which a lot of discussion of density within this document over the last couple meetings. So this ballot removes the density of all listed wood species from table B1 and revises footnote 1 of table B1 to allow for variation of up to plus or minus 10% unless indicated by a range in the table. So if a density is listed in the table, say 10, the variation that's allowed is plus or minus 10%, so that would be 9 to 11 roughly, unless the table says something like 8 to 12 in it, in which case then that would be the range allowed. And also footnote 3 of table B1 was revised to indicate where those wood species densities come from, as those are kind of accepted densities, and proof of that is not required. So if approved, this ballot language would be implemented upon publication.
All clear.
All right. The second ballot is on interface material, and this is a revision to the section to include a density requirement for the rubber sheets that would be used as interface material. So interface material is when you need something between the sample and the test device to ensure contact. That's basically a rubber sheet. But what this ballot does is it sets some requirements for the density of that rubber sheet so that we have more uniform application of the requirement. Same situation here, this ballot language would be implemented upon publication.
Yep, all clear.
All right. The peer review group ballot revises section 6.1 and 6.3 to better define who may serve on the peer review group. The peer review group is the group that reviews the test reports and any data that's submitted for materials to be included in Appendix C. The ballot also permits staff, if we do not believe we have the proper subject matter expertise on a particular material, that we can call in, folks to give us that expertise. As you know, our normal peer review folks, which are folks that have submitted data, may not have expertise in the areas of all materials. And this also allows the staff to remove inactive members of our peer review group. If folks are not actively participating in the process, we can remove them for that inactivity. Same situation here. If this ballot's approved, it would be implemented upon publication.
You're all clear here, Michael. And I do have a question, but not about this ballot, but about these ballots for the 101. These are all independent of each other, right? So if the first two pass, but the second three don't, you would still implement the first two.
That is correct.
Okay, make sure everybody knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, what was done with the 100 table 4.3 ballot, we had a variety of different issues in some of our previous 101 ballots. And so we've tried to separate those topics out so that they can be individually addressed.
Yeah, great. Just want to have that clarification. And we still have no hands, so.
So the fourth ballot for 101 is concerns reaffirmation, and this is language. Reaffirmation is when your product's been in there every 4 years. It requires you to reaffirm the product. We have language for that, and this language change would allow reaffirmation of the products only if the product formulation, the test standard, and any additional requirements from 101 remain unchanged. In the past, we stated that if the product didn't change, then the reaffirmation could occur and you were left with the original numbers. But due to learning we've had over the last couple years, we realized that changes to the test standard and to the requirements in 101 can and potentially will impact the results of the test. So we've added those two items in, that if that the reaffirmation can only occur if the test wouldn't be affected by any changes to the standards as well as the product formulation. And this will also be implemented upon publication.
All right. Looks like we lost the screen. There you go. I don't have any hands raised.
All right. Can move on to reporting requirements. So 101 encompasses a variety of different test methods that could be used. We didn't really have a reporting requirements section here. So we were relying on the reporting requirements from the different ASTM standards, which had a different, each of those standards had different levels of care as to what was reported. In our own program, say for a 102 test for U factor, we have very distinct reporting requirements that are spelled out in our laboratory accreditation program. But 101 doesn't fall under that program, and therefore reporting requirements were never established. NFRC reporting requirements were never established. So we created a section that creates a uniform reporting requirements, regardless of test method, of the different things that we need to see. This doesn't override if an ASTM method requires certain additional information, but it does create a baseline set of data that we would get on every test. That is things that are common between those standards, and also things that are common to what we require to do proper review of the data. So this, if approved, would also be implemented upon publication. And in practice, this probably does not change a whole lot about what people would have reported on any individual test, but it does make sure that we get all the different pieces that we would have in the past kind of gone back and had to ask for in some cases.
Correct. Yeah. No, good job, Michael.
All right, thank you.
So yes, before we conclude, we have two things, two more items, just very quickly. First, I would just like to ask the audience for their opinion, and all I just need is a hand raise. If you think this time today was worth us putting this together and then you attending, please raise your hand if it's something you'd like to see us continue. I'm loving to see that. So that's a good thing. Great. So awesome. Good news. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to put your hands down. And then we have one more thing with, I believe Michelle's back up with something.
Thanks, Scott, and thanks for the detailed overview of all the ballots that'll be presented at the fall membership meeting.
Yep.
And now I'm going to invite you again to become a meeting sponsor. Sponsorship is essential for NFRC to have engaging events that bring people together for networking. So everyone loves a list, and here you go. Here are 5 reasons to sponsor the fall membership meeting. Not only will your company logo be prominently displayed throughout the meeting, it will also be seen by countless others online and in the meeting app. And sponsorship allows you to support the fun stuff, the happy hours, the receptions, and the networking events. So please feel free to reach out to me at the email on the screen for more information on the fall membership meeting sponsorship opportunities. Thanks for your time, and thanks for attending the webinar.
Thank you, Michelle. Anybody have any questions? This is before we hang up here. Just raise your hand. Any for Michelle? Okay, great. So hope to get see everybody in San Diego. Should be beautiful out there, and a nice handshake, and let's get back to normal here. So thanks for everybody's time today. Appreciate it. Good job, staff. Well done.
Thank you all.